You're watching the 2024 SCAC Fall Media Days. Today, we're taking a look at the Southwestern University cross-country programs. Pirates will once again be led as they head into the season under the guidance of head coach Joe Sponsel, along with leadership from senior Brian Armijo and junior Breanna Steele. And coach Brian, Bree, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you for having us.
Coach, we'll open up with you heading into year two. We talked a lot about last year at this time, kind of your transition, getting to know these teams and getting started for that first season. Now heading into this year's second year with these groups, where have you seen the most growth with these two programs, and just how excited ultimately are you to be back at the start of a new season?
Yeah, it's super exciting. It was a very long summer. It felt that way. And then this first, few days, week has been the total opposite. It's been a whirlwind. When I first got here, I was very fortunate to come into a young team. And so there's been a lot of consistency in my personal professional transition to a new position, but then also on the team, we've had very few seniors in my first, year and a half. And so that's been nice too, to be able to work with the same group for the first, 3 or 4 seasons and get really, in touch with where they're at fitness wise, where they're at like mentally, and what this program needs moving forward, without having, graduating a bunch of people. The team has grown with new incoming freshmen, but that there's been a core of the team that's been here the whole time. And that's really helped in kind of, like I said, settling in, understanding where we're at, and moving in a specific direction.
Brian, coming into your senior season, you've been such a constant within this lineup over the course of your career. What are you looking forward to most about getting back and competing with this team as this preseason is unfolded and ramping up to the year? What have you enjoyed with this group as you get prepared to start a new season?
Yeah, I'd say what we're looking forward to most as a group, and what I'm also personally looking forward to, is taking all of the progress that we've made ever since I was first a freshman stepping foot on this team and cashing our check. All that work that we've done it's really been very, very critical to how we've been able to improve each season. Every season, we've tried to identify specific weaknesses individually and within our team and how we perform, and we've tried to improve upon those. And so I'm really excited to see where that takes us with a team that has so much momentum.
Bree, you come into your junior season coming off an outstanding sophomore campaign, a top 25 finish at the cross country championships a year ago. Fast forward to that outdoor season and, multiple all SCAC performances at outdoor as well. So as the sophomore campaign unfolded, how much confidence did it give you as a runner having that success, showing that you could be, at the top elite of the SCAC runners? And, what have you continued to work on individually coming into this season to grow that confidence to start your junior year?
Yeah, I think it was an important conversation that I kind of had to set a precedent at the beginning. I remember talking to Coach Joe at the beginning of my track season, coming off of cross country, knowing that I honestly had more to give, and I was honestly a little frustrated with how the season had ended. And so I remember having a conversation, and I sat in front of him and I was like, I'm done being mediocre. I'm over it. And so that was just kind of my motivation going into the track season. And then after coming off of like a pretty successful track season that didn't end exactly how I wanted to, but still was a great way to kind of start that end of mediocre season and into like really starting to compete. I was able to train pretty well over this summer coming off that, and just excited for cross country and seeing where that motivation can take me. I'm really excited for this season, and I'm super excited for the opportunity to just compete with some girls that have some really great potential too.
Coach, race day obviously is so unique and one of the things that we all look forward to throughout the course of a season. For you as a coach, how do you teach your athletes how to race? Each course is different, each field, the competition is different. There are all these unique variables, but the aspect of racing, what is your kind of philosophy, the mindset you like your athletes to have on race day? How do you teach them to go out there and be at their best on race day?
Yeah, it starts with me knowing my athletes as individuals. Everyone is a little bit different, and some people need a lot of hype on race day. Some people need to, a really calm, preparation the day before, the morning of, to really get focused and block out distractions. Some people need to be distracted before races, and it starts with understanding where the experiences everyone has had up to this point and how we can double down on what's worked and improve what hasn't. And like you said, the races are what everyone looks forward to. That's the fun part. It's not always fun getting up at 6 a.m. to train every day, but it should always be fun to race. That's, in my opinion, why we do this, and reminding the team that this is the fun part, and figuring out how we can make it fun while also be competitive. And I think where those two ideas kind of blend together is where we're at our best individually and as a team, which they sometimes seem like opposite ideas. Like if you're having too much fun, how can you be competitive? Or if you're so competitive, you lose sight of that you love to do this. And I think finding that balance in between is really important. And on an individual level, like I talk to a lot of that. I talk with the athletes a lot about goal setting and what is a appropriate, reasonable definition of success for meets through the season. And again, that's another individual thing. Some athletes come in and say, I want to PR every race. I'm like, oh, great, I want you to as well. How are you going to do that? So answering the question how is usually more important than answering the question what, because everyone wants to run faster. Everyone wants to win. That's great. I want that in all my athletes, but you got to know how to get there.
Brian, we've talked in the past, and one of the things I appreciated in those conversations was sort of your thought process and mindset of growing each year and using each summer to continue to grow as a runner, implementing new philosophies, finding that flow and kind of pairing that together to start a new season. So, the question for me is, what continues to drive you as a runner? What continues to motivate you coming into this season? And what are maybe some things that you found this summer anew to your race plan and to your training that gives you confidence coming into your senior season?
Yeah. Well, the foundation of all of it is that I just love running. It is the sport that I am by far most passionate about. It's really beautiful to be able to go out and explore so much of wherever you are, just being able to go out and run and see beautiful scenery and experience the weather throughout the year. But more so when it comes to collegiate racing, I enjoy the competition and I enjoy the process that I go through both individually and within my team to improve at those competitions, because there's always the result that everybody's trying to go for. But like Coach Joe said, the process is what makes that result mean so much. And so really delving into my process continually this year and implementing a lot of different aspects that I've kind of learned from all my previous seasons in both high school and college is what's really driving me this season to kind of pull it all together, find the through line, and be able to have that result come out effectively, whatever it may be.
Bree, from a team perspective, what have you enjoyed about this group? Where's the team chemistry as it started to develop here in this preseason portion of the year? And ultimately, how excited are you to go out and compete with this team heading into 2024?
Yeah, I think ever since my freshman year, even, I came in and it just immediately felt like everybody wanted to be here and kind of liked each other a little bit. And so I think that helped. And it's been really cool to be a part of that. Kind of what Coach was talking about earlier, we have had a core group that's pretty much stuck together since we started out so young. And I think that it's been really cool to kind of fold the freshmen coming into that, and they fit right in. And it's super exciting. On the men's and the women's side, they're just folded right in, and it's been super exciting to see everyone kind of find their place and have that camaraderie and compete with each other, but also we love each other super well. And yeah, this is just like a second family. It's been really cool to be a part of it.
Coach, talk to me about these two teams, these two programs. Obviously, some veteran, leaders within both of these groups. As you mentioned, we've had this core through these couple of seasons now. What have you gotten to know about this 2024 version of these two programs? What are some of their characteristics? How do you expect them to kind of attack this season in their style going into this year?
Yeah, I think kind of what Bree was saying too, like the team brings the newcomers to the program in every year, and like because they had to start being leaders at a relatively early stage in their college career, like they've grown a little bit more and learned a little bit more, maybe a little more mature than some of the other than they could have been potentially if they weren't forced to be leaders right away. And I think that's helped fold the freshmen in every year. And it just solidifies that core that we have. And I'm hoping that can continue as they actually are junior seniors this year, next year, and set a really good example. And I think the men's team is a little different in construction, but I think it's the same kind of thing. Like, we have a really strong core, and like, if you were to stand back and watch the team interact, you'd have no idea who's a senior, who's a freshman, who's the number 1 runner, who's the number 10 runner, or anything like that. And I hope that balance, that community that they create can continue. And that's kind of what I'm looking for the rest of this year is, okay, we know we're going to graduate some seniors on the men's side, some leaders, some people who work really hard and set good examples by action and more vocally. And I'm looking to see who can be that next leader for the team, or leaders.
Finally, as we wrap up with our student athletes, Brian and Bree, when you've had conversations with your teammates and other leaders within your groups about, coming into this season, the goals and expectations, and the final season, for these Southwestern programs in the SCAC, what have those conversations looked like? And ultimately, what's going to be key for these groups to accomplish those heading into the year?
Yeah. I can speak especially on the men's side. Our conversations have been very focused and very enthusiastic. We're all very much on the same page. We all very much have the same goals for this season. And that's definitely a comfort when it comes to, the place that we've been able to work ourselves to at this point. But when it comes down to it, our main goal is that, like, what we're focusing on when the chips are down and we are in the thick of it, in the middle of a race, how will we be able to perform? That's what we've really been talking about. When it comes down to it, that's what we really care about, and that's why we have each other, is to get ourselves through that.
Yeah, and I think on the women's side, I have been super excited about the freshmen that came in. They kind of came in, they're kind of in the middle of our group, and I think that just talking to all the girls on the team, everyone's super excited about that. Super excited to be able to compete with each other and also work with each other during races, kind of in the same idea. We've been talking a little bit about, like, okay, within a race, like, who is it that you can kind of look to or help with you when you're like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. And you look up, you're like, oh my gosh, but there's my teammate and I gotta go. Like, I think that is an opportunity we haven't really had because we've been a little bit more spread out, or haven't had as many girls on the team, things like that. So I know just with goal setting and stuff like that, we're really excited to be able to work together, but also compete with each other.
And finally, coaches, we wrap up with you. In our sports world, one of the great things is success can be measured in so many different ways. And obviously there's results and times and places, but beyond race day, there's so many metrics as well. So when you talk about success with your two programs within to your student athletes, well, what is that message that you try and deliver? And ultimately, these seasons look successful if what plays out over the course of 2024.
Mm-hmm. I think again, it goes back to the individual relationships I have with the athletes. I tried my best to get to know them really well, and like, one person's definition of success is different from another's, or if it's a similar definition, they might get there in different ways. Like I was saying earlier, answering the question how. And like, on an individual level, success for everybody is kind of the same in terms of, all right, once we figure out how, can we then execute it and do it day after day, week after week, race to race through the season. And if we can do that, then the results will improve, and we'll give ourselves a very good chance to achieve the big picture goals we have for season longs. But there's a lot of little goals along the way that we need to set, and if you're just looking at the end of the season as your be all end all, you're going to look past a lot of the little things along the way that you need to do to get to where you want to be at the end. And so that's kind of my process in terms of, like, maybe some more specific goals. Like I think the men's conference standings are going to be a little bit closer this year, 1 through 4, and we want to mix it up and potentially surprise some people there. I think again, we turned our entire top 7 from last year, our entire top 10, I think, too. So, like, that's very exciting to double down and get that same group back for 2 years in a row. And kind of looking ahead for the women, it's like Bree was saying, like, we added 4 newcomers to the team, and they are all right in the middle of the group. And so that's going to make our team average much closer, especially with her, having the great track season. we expect a lot from her this year, and she expects a lot from herself, and so that's going to push us even further towards the front. And so moving up in the conference rankings, and for both teams, we didn't perform our best at the regional meet last year, and I know that's a big marker for me where we stand amongst like the next level of competition outside of the SCAC. And so I'm still figuring out where everyone's fitness is at. This is only week 1, so I don't have a real specific idea of what place we want to be, but we know we can be better, and we want to be much closer to that top 10.
Southwestern University head men's and women's cross country coach Joe Sponsel, along with leadership from senior Brian Armijo and junior Breanna Steele. The Pirates will open up the 2024 campaign when they host the Stormy Seas Open on August 30th. Coach, Brian, thanks so much for your time today, and best of luck as you head into the season.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.